Welcome back to the streets of Nuremberg. Welcome back to the Norisring. It's the second season of the Prototype Cup Germany, and it's our first ever visit to the streets of Nuremberg. What a spectacular circuit this is. The only street circuit in Germany, the only street circuit on the calendar for the Prototype Cup Germany here in the streets of Nuremberg. We have been enjoying the glorious summer sun. 34.1 degrees has been the air temperature. The track at 35.9. So actually, things are starting to cool down now because in the late afternoon, I have to tell you, up until now, it has been scorching. There has been, well, we've been told 102,000 spectators over the weekend here to watch the racing as part of the DTM package, including GT Masters as well as the Prototype Cup Germany, of course, and we've really enjoyed those, as well as the BMW M2 Cup. That car there starts on pole position. Valentino Catalana qualifying on pole position, and he'll be looking for a better result than yesterday. Still looking for the second win of the season. Yesterday it was a non-finish after contact and damage. Xavier Loveras in the Van Ommen Racing by Data Lab car has only come into the season from the second round onward, but has been so impressive. It was a win in the second race at Zandvoort last time out and a third place, and then a second place yesterday. So very, very good stuff from Xavier Loveras. Number 6 car with Julian Apothelos at the wheel. They won the opening race of the season, and he won the opening race at Oschersleben along with co-pilot Oscar Tunyo. They'd had nothing but podium finishes until we got to Zandvoort, and 2 non-finishes, including a crash on the opening lap of the first race, has meant that they are on the back foot a little bit coming into this weekend. But it's been very much business as normal because they are back up at the front of the grid for this race, and they got a third place in race 1 of the weekend yesterday. There's Nico Gerler in the BWT Mucker Motorsport Duquesne, and he had a 4th place yesterday along with co-pilot Gustavo Kirilla. Before we get going, we just want to mention the number 35 BHK Motorsport Ligier. We saw yesterday Alex Cascatau have an accident on the formation lap. He's sharing driving duties with Elias Sparendio. It was a big accident. It caused a lengthy stoppage. It meant that the fence had to be repaired. Alex was removed from the car and taken to hospital. I understand that there is a possibility he may require some surgery on his back. So we do wish Alex Cascatau all the best. We send him love from everybody at Prototype Cup Germany, everybody at Creventic, and everybody in the ADAC. It was a big impact. It does mean that the BHK Motorsport Ligier is not going to be on the grid for this race either. Elias Sparendio is very much a spectator this weekend as a result of that, but our prime concern is the recovery of Alex Cascatau, and we say get well soon. Looking forward to seeing you back behind the wheel before too long. You just had a look at some of the other cars on the grid. That was the car that started on pole position yesterday with Matthias Luton and Lawrence Herr at the wheel. Starts from, well, finished in 5th place, starts a bit further back down the grid today in 10th place. So a bit of work to do there. The drivers are graded by the FIA. We have gold drivers, who are the most experienced. We have silver drivers, of which there are many. We have bronze drivers that come in more into the amateur side of things. Depending on the driver pairing, depends on pit stops. So there is a pit stop that is required for all cars, a mandatory stop and driver change for most cars. There is a minimum pit stop time depending on the grading of the driver. It depends on how long that pit stop should be. It sounds complicated, but it's a great way of leveling the playing field. Just to complicate things even further, we have 2 drivers who are running solo, therefore do not have co-drivers. They will still have to make a pit stop, and they will still need to be stationary for a certain amount of time. Those drivers are Danny Sufi in the number 2 Conrad Motorsport Ginetta, and Jan Marszalkowski, who won along with a co-pilot last time out at Zandvoort, won the first race of the weekend, took his debut win in Prototype Cup Germany. but he is running solo this weekend. Right, parish notices done and dusted. The formation laps, and I say laps because there may well be 2 laps here for these cars just to allow them to get heat into the tyres behind the safety car. It is a very short circuit, just 2.3 kilometres around. That equates to about 1.429 miles. 4 turns, 3 to the left and 1 to the right, running unusually in an anti-clockwise direction. It is Valentino Catalano who starts on pole position with Xavier Loveras for Van Ommen's team alongside another Van Ommen car, Julian Apostolos, and Gary Hauser alongside him on row 2. Row 3, Nico Gerler and Jan Marszalkowski running solo in the MRS GT Racing Ligier. On row 4, Maximilian Hacklander, an experienced driver with Konstantin Skoll for company. And on row 5 with the grid, Danny Sufi, another solo runner with Matthias Luton for Quarren and Kempe Motorsport. Mikael Lyons is on row 6, and Mark van der Snel racing with his son this weekend alongside him. Wolfgang Peyer bringing up the rear of the grid on the 7th row, position 13. So the cars having completed the first of their formation laps, of course, with the course being so short, the driver's given that extra lap in order to get heat into the tyres and into the brakes. Hence, all the weaving, tyre warmers not allowed in Prototype Cup Germany. This is race 8 of a 12-race season for these cars. So this formation lap is very critical as the drivers need to get the heat into the tyres. They need to be ready to compete into the very tight hairpin, which is turn 1. This track, really 2 hairpins joined together by a couple of straights and a chicane in the middle. It's as close to an oval as you're ever going to get in prototype racing. 2 very, very tight hairpins. So the cars now starting to form up in their side-by-side formation. At least they will be very shortly. Right, here we go. And it's Valentino Catalano on pole position with Xavier Loveras alongside. So safety car in a few moments will duck off into the pit lane, and we will have 55 minutes plus 1 lap of racing for this, the Prototype Cup Germany, featuring these LMP3 monsters, and they really are monsters. They shake the ground. 5.6 litres of Nissan engine producing 450 brake horsepower. They make the ground shake, and we are ready for the rumble. We're waiting for the 5 red lights to go out, and then we will be racing. This is race 8 of a 12-race season for the Prototype Cup Germany, running 4-5 abreast down the straight, now filing into the first corner. This is the tricky bit. Will they all get around? It's Valentino Catalano who leads the way. Xavier Loveras slotting into 2nd place. Looks like they've all made it. No, they haven't. A car up onto 2 wheels against the wall. It looks like it keeps going. It's one of the Conrad Motorsport cars. They keep going, but surely there would have been some damage there. Valentino Catalano leading the way. Xavier Loveras ahead of Julian Apostolos, but we saw a car going up onto 2 wheels out of that corner, riding the wall. But everyone continuing at the moment. It doesn't look as though we're going to need a safety car because everybody's going, but not for long. There was a car that was running sideways. Was that Mark van der Snel? It was the 22 car that went up the wall. That was Maximilian Hacklander, and yes, it is Mark van der Snel who had that spin as well. So 2 cars in strife on the opening lap of this race. Van der Snel is able to rejoin Max Hacklander. Well, it looks pretty terminal to me. There was Julian Apostolos in the number 6 car. The yellows are flying. I haven't got any indication of a safety car as of yet. Valentino Catalano leading the pack around. Xavier Loveras in the JVO Racing car in 2nd place. And, both of the Conrad Motorsport cars coming into the pit centre. Was it Danny Sufi and Max Hacklander that got together? Both of the cars into the pits. This is just dreadful news for Conrad Motorsport, and it potentially the 2 cars that got together. I dare say we will see a replay of that at some point or the other. But at the moment, Valentino Catalano leads Xavier Loveras and Gary Hauser ahead of Nico Gerler. Julian Apostolos in P5 ahead of Jan Marszalkowski, who's kept out of the trouble. Then Matthias Luton and Michael Lyons in the number 70 car, Konstantin Skoll, Wolfgang Peyer and Mark van der Snel. So We'll have another look here. The start is under investigation as well. Every car is required to pass through its grid box before starting to overtake. They were quite eager. The lights went green. The steward, I have to say, Nico Gerler did look a little bit eager out of the blocks, but it'll be down to the stewards to decide whether anybody caused a problem. Right now, have a look towards the back here. The two Conrad Motorsport cars. There was another one to the inside, and the car on the inside kind of moved across and pinched the two Conrad Motorsport cars together. And I think it was Julian Apostolos, maybe. I don't know whether he was involved in that or not, but certainly the two Conrad cars getting together, and up the wall goes Maximilian Hacklander, doing a lot of damage to that car, and it's going to terminate his afternoon well and truly. And that really was proper wall of death stuff. I think Jan Marshalkowski was in there as well. I don't think he made contact, or was it Jan? No, I don't think so. It was just that squeeze. And you really can't get around that corner. Three abreast is bad enough getting around it. Single file. Safety car is out according to, well, it says safety car in this lap on the screen. There's a replay of Mark van der Snel. So safety car is out on the track at the moment. You can see the lights flashing. So cars brought down to single file at a much slower pace. Well, that was a dramatic / confusing opening lap, but looks like we've lost certainly Max Hacklander and Danny Sufi. Mark van der Snel, well, he's rejoined despite that moment. There's a bit of debris on the track there that the cars have just gone past. So safety car is out here at the Norisring, and there is no surprise there as the prototypes continue to circulate in single file. So just weaving to keep heat into the tyres and into the brakes. I'm keeping one eye on the timing screen to see if there is any penalty incoming. It says safety car in this lap. Haven't actually been given that on the timing screens yet, so I think our graphics people have more information than I do. There are the two Conrad Motorsport cars, and that's a depressing sign when the team has been here all weekend and both of their cars being eliminated in the opening laps of the races. Franz Conrad, I think it might be him in the background, who will see that looking again. So into the corner. And it was one of the JVO cars that got together. I think it was Julian Apostolos that got together with Danny Sufi and Max Hacklander. And I think Jan Marshalkowski did very well to avoid that and not get involved in it. He kind of backed out of it and then was able to take advantage of the scattering cars to pick up some places. But look at that, up onto two wheels. And that does an awful lot of damage to the car. It was actually Danny Sufi who did the wall of death, and Max Hacklander who got all the damage. But whichever way, both of the Conrad cars out of it. The roar of the cars, and that was the debris that went flying as a result of that. So, notification the safety car will be in on this lap. So, Valentina Catalano becomes the pace setter ahead of Xavier Loveras. The pace car has now dipped off into the distance. That is up on the start-finish line. And Valentina Catalano will decide when to go. He hits the accelerator and opens up the gap. Xavier Loveras anticipates it reasonably well, but not close enough to make a move into turn one. So out back under green flag conditions we come. And under braking into turn one. It's Valentino Catalano leading from Xavier Loveras and Gary Hauser. And Gary Hauser in the number 15 car along with Marcus Pommer, very much the people who are in control of the championship at the moment, leading by some 28 points from Julian Apostolos and Oscar Tunyo. These cars growling around the corner, wonderful to listen to, wonderful to watch. The Prototype Cup LMP3 cars coming into the world of the ADAC in association with Creventic, the very famous Dutch promoters, bringing these monsters here, and ever the spectacle here around the tight confines of the Norisring. So Valentina Catalano opening up a gap at the moment from Xavier Loveras and Gary Hauser. Then Nico Gerler, Julian Potolos. Well, it doesn't look as though he's picked up any damage as a result of that incident at the start. Then a little bit of a gap back to Jan Marszałkowski and Matthias Luton. Then Michael Lyons in 8th place ahead of Konstantin Skol. So Valentino Catalana, the gap, 0.6 of a second, well, 0.680 last time around. And very much in control. Nico Gerler looking at the back of the Gary Hauser car, looking eager. We haven't had any indication of any penalty as a result of the start, so I think all is good there. But Nico Gerler, with his eyes on that 3rd place, Gary Hauser very much in the championship hunt. We see Franz Conrad there receiving consolation from the pit crew, with both of his cars going out in the same incident. And Nico Gerler there now with Gary Hauser. Julian Apostolos doesn't look as though he's got any damage as a result of that collision. Then a gap back to Jan Marszałkowski, doing solo driving duty here this weekend at the Norisring. But Valentino Catalana, 0.8 of a second, so he's stretching his legs a bit from Xavier Loveras in 2nd place, and Gary Hauser about 1.7 behind him. Remind you, there is a pit window that will open as we see Valentino Catalano, or was that, no, that's Mark van der Snel that was opening up, or potentially Matthias Luton, in fact, smoking the brakes slightly into the corner. We need a few less black and orange cars, don't we? But running now solo out on the track and challenging further back in the pack. The 72 car, Matthias Luton, who is the only driver who is sharing with a gold-rated driver, and that is Lawrence Herr. Lawrence Herr, who was very quick yesterday and had originally put the car on pole position for race 1. He will be taking over after the pit window in the number 72 car. 72 currently in 7th place. The incident between the 2 Conrad Motorsport cars and Julian Apostolos is under investigation, and car smoking there under braking. Is that Michael Lyons in the number 70 car? And you saw him smoking under braking. I think he was just locking it up into the corner, but unsurprisingly, that incident we saw that saw the wall of death for Danny Sufi is very much under investigation by our race steward here this afternoon. Cars running very much in single file at the moment, but I think there are going to be some challenges for positions. And Nico Gerler, well, he's dropped back a little bit from his challenge on Gary Hauser. Now it's still Valentina Catalana who leads the way. There is the number 3, Konstantin Skol. He and Dino Steiner, that was that lock-up. And cloud of smoke from the Michael Lyons car in the 8th place. And those tyres going to be properly flat-spotted. There'll be vibrations that are going to have to be carried along with his teammate Jakob Erlbacher will also have that vibration for the next 45 minutes of this race. So they're not allowed tyre changes unless they have a puncture. And Nico Gerler there in the number 8, having dropped back from the 3rd place challenge. So, as mentioned, the incident we saw under investigation, but no penalty incoming as of yet. It may be that the steward really just sees that as a racing incident. The start of a race when everybody's bunched together, too many cars trying to get out the corner at the same time can cause problems. We have lost the 2 Conrad Motorsport cars, Max Hacklander and Danny Sufi. Everybody else is still running out on track. So the rumble through the floor of these cars, making everything shake. And it is Valentino Catalano. 1.262 seconds, so he's not pulling away, especially from Xavier Loveras, ahead of Gary Hauser. Challenges for position further back, though. So we see a couple of cars into the corner. That is the aforementioned Michael Lyons with Konstantin Skol, a driver who we've seen in GT racing over the years, has taken very well to LMP3 racing, challenging for 8th position. And it is Michael Lyons with those flat-spotted tyres now having to defend in the Ginetta. The Ginetta car is one of three of 6 Ginetta chassis that have been built, and quite unusual this series because we have 3 LMP3 brands, and there's no other LMP3 series that has that in 2023. So the cars spaced out apart from this fight here. Mako Lions in 8th place. No further action for the incident at the start. So the incident between Danny Sufi, Max Hacklander and Julian Apothelos has been declared a racing incident by our race steward, and no further action. Kind of what we're expecting, although no consolation to Conrad Motorsport whatsoever, with both of their cars parked up. And they will not be adding to their scores from yesterday. It was a 6th place for Danny Sufi and a 9th place for Max Hacklander. And Sebastian von Gartzen, who shares with Maximilian Hacklander, will not be getting a drive this afternoon. So a really, really tough day for him. The gap is 0.6 of a second, so Xavier Loveras is winding in Valentino Catalano in the lead, but we will keep an eye on that. So it feels a little bit as though second is closing in. In fact, the timing screens are confirming second is closing in on the lead. We'll keep one eye on that. We'll keep another eye on this battle. Marco Lyons and Konstantin Skoll for 8th place. And it doesn't look as though Skoll has got a route past. Of course, on a circuit as narrow as this, overtaking is something that is incredibly difficult. And these cars that are very wide, very fast, rely on very much a downforce setup to make the cars stick to the track. A very different concept to the GT3 racing that we've been watching this weekend. So overtaking is not always that easy, but Valentino Catalana now just 0.4 of a second between first and second. You see the gap evolution as they go over the sector times, and Catalana now very much being hassled by Xavier Loveras, and it might be that Loveras has to try and force Catalana into a mistake to try and find a route past for that lead. Valentino Catalana, who came through the ranks of the ADAC Formula 4 Series, the number 77 pilot, had a non-finish yesterday, along with Robin Rogowski, the Polish driver in the DKR Engineering Duquesne, the number 77 car. They've had one win already this year. That was in the Oschersleben race, after an epic pole position lap from Valentino Catalana, it has to be said. And now looking for the second win, but the heat is definitely on. And of course, when the pit window opens, that will change the whole concept and the whole dynamic of the race, because it will be number 2 drivers that will be jumping into the driving seat of all bar one of the remaining cars, and Jan Marszalkowski being the only driver that will remain in the seat. Now coming up to lap the number 12 car of Wolfgang Peyer. He very wisely gets out of the way. Wolfgang Peyer in the number 12 car, along with Kevin Rohrscheidt, both bronze-rated drivers for racing experience, and they are just getting up to speed, really. Bronze-rated, not the quickest drivers, but getting faster. They are, in fact, under investigation, though, for an inaccurate starting position. We did see some cars jumping out of line at the start of that race, so it could be that Wolfgang Peyer may well have some attention from our race steward as a result of an inaccurate starting position. We'll let you know if anything occurs as a result of that. Here comes our race leader, Valentino Catalana. Now he's opened it up again now for Xavier Loveras after it closed up. 0.783 last time they crossed the start-finish line. Of course, that gap is opening and closing depending on where they are on the circuit, but I have to say, I don't think Catalana is looking very much under threat at the moment. Another car under investigation is Michael Lyons. That is also for an inaccurate starting position. So car 70, the Gerhardt Motorsport Ginetta, been driven by Michael Lyons. The one with the 50p shaped tyres after that lockup is currently under investigation as well. This is the fight for the lead, 0.9 of a second. So Catalana is responding to the pressure that had been applied by Xavier Loveras and has opened up the gap by a couple of tenths. And just feels as though Catalana is controlling this, not taking too much out of the car too early on. These tyres need to last the full duration. And now having a look at a replay, and that is a swapper for car number 15. So that is very significant. Gary Hauser, the driver who is leading our points championship, along with Marcus Pommer, dropping down the order. Looked like just getting it all wrong under braking. Drops back into 5th place. 5-second time penalty has been awarded to the 2 cars that were adjudged to have started in the wrong grid positions. That would be Wolfgang Pyer and also Michael Lyons. So both those drivers getting a 5-second time penalty, which will probably be added at the end of the race. There is the potential to add it in the pit stop, but we have a tendency to add it at the end of the race. But we did see that spin by Gary Hauser, which is very significant. It's not often you see the number 15 car, the Racing Experience Duquesne, pointing in the wrong direction. Marcus Pommer will be taking the driving seat of that car after the pit stop, but that drops him back into 5th place, so a bit of work to do from there. Valentino Catalana continues to lead the way ahead of Xavier Lavras. Catalana in the orange, blue and black number 77 car, ahead of Xavier Lavras in the predominantly white, green and orange car, number 5. There's Nico Gerler now in 3rd place. The number 8, sharing with Gustavo Kirilla. They got a 2nd place at Zandvoort last time out. There is your confirmation of the 5-second time penalties to those 2 cars, and that will help their chances of points are no end, he says sarcastically, because 5 seconds around here is actually a fair chunk of this track. The fastest lap has been Valentino Catalana, 49.457, which he set on lap 21 of the race, which was the lap that we have just seen. So Catalana currently putting in what is almost a qualifying pace as he looks to open up the gap a bit more from Xavier Lavras. He's done that. He's pretty well doubled the gap. 1.527 is the gap between 1st and 2nd. So Catalano not really looking under threat at the moment, with a little over 35 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. It is race 8 of a 12-race season. It was the start of the 2nd half of the season yesterday. We're getting towards the 2/3 of the season, and we'll be heading to Assen in September for the next round. We'll tell you more about that later as we continue to focus on Valentino Catalano. Very much stable on that gap. 1.4 seconds last time around. 1.463 Catalano from Lavras. But of course, just to remind you, the pit window will be opening in about 5 minutes, and these cars will come into the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change, and that changes the whole dynamic of the race. You have drivers of different experience and different ability taking the seat, and we saw it yesterday. We saw cars that were running at the front. They come in for their mandatory stop and their driver change, and suddenly it all changes completely the whole face of the race. The one driver who is remaining in the race who will not be having a driver change is Jan Marszalkowski, but as a result of that, he will have to be stationary for 5 seconds longer than the silver-silver driver pairing. So he will have to be stationary for 110 seconds, nearly 2 minutes in the pits, as a result of not having to do a driver change. So that is quite a steep penalty. Jan Marszalkowski, who, as already mentioned, took that win in Zandvoort in race 1. He started the season as teammate to Marco Kasich, that was for Hockenheim and Oschersleben, and then Jacob Stixmos, who was with him at Zandvoort, the Dutch driver, really suiting each other actually very well indeed, and we were hoping that Jacob and Jan would continue in partnership for the rest of the season. But it is also about budget, it's about getting the drivers who are able to stay in the seat, and Jan Marszalkowski not able to find a co-driver at this time, and so occupying that on his own, and he has just found a route past Gary Hauser up into 5th place. So Jan Marszalkowski is on the move forwards, finding a route past Gary Hauser, who had that spin earlier on, and now down into 6th place. I'm wondering whether his tyres are a bit flat-spotted as well. And the very talented Marszalkowski moving up into 5th. He won his first ever GT Masters race last year, and that was at Sachsenring, and that is Gary Hauser. Now, was that the spin that we saw earlier, or was that another spin? I think that was another spin. So Gary Hauser spending a lot of time pointing in the wrong direction. You can see the pit window is now open, and there is now 10 minutes in which all cars will need to come into the pits for their mandatory stop. So Valentino Catalana about 2 seconds. There is Jan Marszałkowski getting better and better with every race, and loved his win in Zandvoort. Quite emotional to stand on the top step. A GT3 racer through and through, but finding a new home in Prototype Cup Germany. Julian Apostolos, another driver that we've seen in TCR Germany. We've seen him in GT4, and now also finding his home in the Prototype Cup. And Nico Gerler, as already mentioned, very close to the BWT Mucker team. Nico Gerler, who was a very competitive ADAC Formula 4 driver back in the day. I would say back in the day, he's not that old. And now taking to prototypes and doing very well, running in a podium position. Right into the pits. Is that Van der Snel? It looks like the 99 car. Yes, it is. It's Mark Van der Snel handing over to his son, Max, the father-son combination. A wonderful addition to the grid. Also in is the 72 car, Matthias Luton, the reigning trophy champion, the driver in the trophy championship, handing over to Lawrence Herr. Who else have we got in? We've also got Wolfgang Peyer in the number 12 car, handing over to Kevin Rorscheit. But the Quarren Kempe Motorsport Duquesne is what we're looking at now. Matthias Luton handing over to Lawrence Herr. Lawrence Herr, a gold-rated driver, very experienced indeed. I expect him to be moving forwards now as he gets into the wheel of that car, or gets behind the wheel. Matthias Luton helping him to get buckled up. There is Kevin Rorscheit and Wolfgang Peyer doing the switch. Drivers and the team working together, the cleaning of the windscreen, the taking of the tyre pressures. Work on the car very much limited, and the team's not allowed to perform tyre changes or anything like that. Our leaders remain out on track. There is an incident between car 14 and 12, an overtaking, and it says under, but I can't see the rest of the message on the timing screen. And so that will be Wolfgang Peyer and Jan Marszałkowski, so potentially overtaking. Maybe was that behind the safety car? I don't know. That is under investigation, so that could be a trauma incoming for those two drivers if the stewards deem there to have been an offence committed. Valentino Catalana, his lead has just suddenly halved. Xavier Loveras has closed in. Now, whether that is a mistake from Catalano or whether Loveras has turned up the wick, both still need to pit, but at the moment the gap between first and second is down to just over a second. Nico Gerler still remaining out at the moment, looking to see how many have done their pit stops. Julian Apostolos is into the pits now in the number 6 car, and Julian Apostolos is handing over to Oscar Tunyo. They are such a good and Oscar Tunyo, who was has been with Julian Apostolos for much of the season, and for all of the season, and they have proven to be a great driver combination. Right, so Michael Lyons, we are looking at now under pressure from Konstantin Skoll in the number 3 car, number 70 and number 3. Michael Lyons in 6th place, Konstantin Skoll in 7th place, but the pit stop will be beckoning soon for Michael Lyons as well. Here comes Lawrence Herr in the 72 car. Cars bouncing across the bumps of the track. Still, we're waiting for a number of cars to come into the pits. The top 6 cars, top 7 cars still yet to pit. But this is quite a battle. Michael Lyons, Konstantin Skoll, they have been glued together for much of this. And they are together now, fighting for 6th place. So along the pit straight they come now, looking to the outside on turn 1. It's a long way round for Konstantin Skol. Michael Lyons trying to be defensive. He's going to squeeze him out towards the fence. Still nothing doing, not easy to find a route past. Minutes of the pit window still remaining. So still halfway through. Now, this is another of the JVO cars. This is Xavier Loverass, isn't it, who's into the pits, I believe. Yes, it is. So Xavier Loverass from second place into the pits. Now, he will be handing over to Belen Espinar, and she is standing in for Gabriela Julkova, who is away doing GT4 French this weekend, and so she hands the seat to Belen Garcia Espinar. But I have to say, Espinar has been very rapid indeed, and yesterday brought the car home in second place. So a very worthy pilot taking over from Xavier Loverass. This fight continues. Michael Lyons still holding off Konstantin Skol. Now I wonder whether they're going to bring Konstantin Skol into the pits early to try and get an undercut on the car in front, where they try and get him in ahead. What would be his nightmare is they come in together and then exit and rejoin the track together. Less than 27 minutes remaining of this race, 32 laps in the book. Our race leader, Valentina Catalana, still out on track at the moment. Nico Gerler in second place. Jan Marszalkowski still yet to stop, is into third place. Car 12, well, their woes go from bad to worse, because they're now under investigation for a pit stop infringement, as well as potentially overtaking under a yellow flag. So that is Kevin Rorschach in the number 12 car also being investigated. So the fighting continues. Now Marco Lyons in the number 70 car, Konstantin Skol, and there behind them is the 72 car of Lawrence Herr. And here, this is Jan Marszalkowski. What are we looking at here in replay? We're looking at him smoking the tyres into the corner, giving it full beans. And there's a lock-up. It looks like a lock-up to me. Flat spotting the tyres on that Ligier JSP 320. And that is how close to the wall these cars are getting. Sliding out, that's Lawrence Herr. And that's probably not going to done it a world of good. The 72 car, well, it looks all intact. It's pointing in the right direction. But the Quarren Kempe Motorsport Duquesne having a little bit of an impact test against the wall. Right, still into the pits is Xavier Loverass slash Belen Garcia Espinar, and she jumping into that car and taking over the driving duties. Catalana still remains out. Now it looks like they've had problems getting that car rolling. You can see them pushing on the replay. So the car is stationary. It looks like something has gone wrong with that car, the number 5 car, whether it's stuck in gear or whether they can't start it. Well, whatever it is, they're now pushing it up the pit lane. And this is a disaster for the JVO team. It is Van Ommen Racing by Datalab, and that car, well, it doesn't look to me like it's going any further. They're wheeling it back into the pit box, and it looks like it could be game over. It looks like Belen Garcia Espinar is potentially not even going to get a drive of that number 5 car, because it's not going anywhere anytime soon. We've got a minute and a half left of the pit window, just over. Valentino Catalano, Nico Gerler, Jan Marszalkowski, Gary Hauser are all still to come into the pits. It is a 49-second lap, so we're running out of time. They do not want to miss the pit window. That would be disastrous in terms of penalties, but I'm sure we will see them in just a few moments, and that is one of them. Nico Gerler handing over to Gustavo Kirilla, the very distinctive BWT Muka Motorsport Duquesne. Some notes are swapped. There is plenty of time here because it is a 105-second pit stop. The adjustments are made to the seat. Then Gustavo gets in. Right, here comes our race leader, Valentino Catalana. Well, the heat is off a little bit because the number 5 car has become stranded and looks to potentially be retiring from the race. So Catalana in. It's Robin Rogowski who's on standby to take over the driving duties of that car. Here comes Robin. He's got his seat insert in his hand. These drivers are very different builds, so you have your own seat that fits around the behind very neatly. Car 5 has been reported to the stewards for a pit stop infringement. I think that'll be on account of them pushing the thing up the pit lane. I'm not entirely sure that was legal. I don't suppose they care too much because I think their race is over anyway, so car 5 has been reported. Nico Gerler has now morphed into Gustavo Kirila in the BWT Muka Motorsport BWT, changing the world sip by sip here as part of the ADAC weekend. The pit window is closed. Everybody has or will be in, well, has or is, should I say, into the pits. Jan Marszałkowski also in as well. So we'll give it a minute or so, and then we'll wait for this to shake out, and we'll see where they are in relation to each other. Valentino Catalana has handed over to Robin Rogowski, and we'll see where he comes out in relation to the rest of the runners. There's Gustavo Kirila, currently in 3rd place. Ahead of him is the number 3 car on the timing screen, but of course Konstantin Skol now handing over to Dino Steiner. So we just allow this to shake out for a couple of minutes. Right, there goes the car that came in the lead, I think. And it's going to retain that lead, don't you? Robin Rogowski now out to rejoin the race. Here we go, out onto the track. It looks like it's 1st place for number 77, and a good clear distance as well over Gustavo Kirila. Here comes Kirila in that 2nd place. It says Konstantin Skol on the graphic, so I think he might have passed through in 2nd, so Kirila would have been in 3rd. So good job from the number 3 team, if that is the case, because they would have made progress through the pit sequence. But Oscar Tunyo, man on a mission, and oh, there we go, that has now corrected itself, so Skol hadn't gone through and drops back into the 4th place. So it is Kirila in 2nd. This is the battle for 2nd. Look at Oscar Tunyo. He was really disappointed after race 1 at Zandvoort, collecting the barrier before the race had really properly got underway. Now needs to stay out of trouble as he fights Gustavo Kirila. He's not waiting around, is he? He's not waiting for his moment. He's getting stuck in. Oscar Tunyo in the number 6 car took over from Julian Apostolos, now challenging Gustavo Kirila, who took over from Nico Gerler. This is for 2nd place, and Oscar Tunyo looking very eager. There goes our race leader, Robin Rogowski, some 10 seconds ahead of this battle. So they really have come out of the pit stop sequence well. Now to the inside goes Oscar Tunyo. Gustavo Kirila goes to shut the door. They avoid making contact. Around the chicane they go. Now full beans up towards the corner, running as close to the wall as they dare. And Gustavo Kirila holding on to that 2nd place, but for how long? Because Oscar Tunyo, a more experienced pilot in the prototype series, we saw him last year. And Oscar Tunyo continuing to turn the heat up on that 3rd place. So still looking into the corner. No route past at the moment. So having another look here at that challenge, Oscar Tunyo. He sees a gap to the inside. Kirila goes to shut the door, and you can see the back end sliding as Oscar Tunyo has to sling the anchors out and slow the thing down. So Oscar Tunyo continuing in that 3rd place with Jan Marszałkowski. He's done well out of the pit sequence in 4th place. Drive-through penalty for car 12. They really have had a wretched time of it, haven't they? So Wolfgang Peyer, drive-through penalty for a pit stop infringement, and a drive-through penalty for Jan Marszałkowski for overtaking under a yellow flag. So that 4th place is not going to last for long. And that is very bad news for young Jan, as he's going to drop down the order once he has performed that drive-through penalty. Overtaking under yellow, it's unforgivable in the eyes of the stewards. This is the battle we're looking at for 2nd place. Gustavo Kirila fending off Oscar Tunyo. Oscar Tunyo, who has raced in a GT Masters, as indeed has the driver behind, Jan Marszałkowski. In fact, the winner in GT Masters, as already mentioned, but that 4th place for Marszałkowski is set to become something a lot less than that once the drive-through has been performed. And Lawrence Herr in 5th place. We told you he was going to be good. He might have brushed the wall earlier on, but it hasn't slowed him down. So Lawrence Herr, the man on a mission, and now the fastest man on the track, a 49.097 for Lawrence Herr in the number 72 car. He's taken over from Matthias Luton, and he is moving forwards at a great rate now. Marszałkowski into the pits for his drive-through penalty. And we're looking here at a replay. That would have been Marszałkowski. Did he get together with Lawrence Herr? Locked up into the corner. And the two cars, I don't think they made contact, but it was a big lockup for Jan Marszałkowski. He currently now serving his drive-through penalty. That is painful as ever in the number 14 car. That is brought to you by the legendary MRS GT Racing. Now into the pits, is that? Yes, it is. It's the number, it's the 77 car. Robin Rogowski. Problems for Robin Rogowski. It looks like, well, if you ask me, he may have made contact with the barrier. At best, it's a flat tyre, but it's looking more than that. So, after such a strong performance, they had a non-finish yesterday. Into the pits they come. There is no urgency whatsoever to do anything about that. Absolute double disaster for Robin Rogowski, who took over from such a strong drive from Valentino Catalana, had this race well under control. Now into the pits with what looks like damage. It's handed the lead to Gustavo Kirila. You can see the team working on the car, but clearly, well, the wheels look up, don't they, the tyres? Well, that's right, block the view. It looks as though, I'm thinking maybe he slid into a barrier, or maybe something's just broken, but you can see the frustration as he beats the steering wheel. 2 non-finishes on the same weekend. Now, let's have a look. Yes, as suspected, sliding out of the corner into the barrier. So easy to do. You get out wide, you lose the traction, and bang, in you go. And that is damage for the number 77 car. Terminal damage. Oh, look at that. Yeah, broken the drive shaft, the suspension, whatever it is. That car is absolutely wrecked. And Valentino Catalana will be upset after all his hard work, but Robin Rogowski, you can see he is steaming. Whether that's steaming or just distraught is hard to tell. But the number 77 car once again recording a non-finish after such a strong start to the season. Now this is for the lead. Gustavo Kirila has Oscar Tunyo. They are no longer fighting over second place. This is fighting for overall victory. The stakes have suddenly improved for Oscar Tunyo. Lawrence Herr in the background closing in on them as well. But the fight for first place. Now Tunyo looks to the inside. Gustavo Kirila goes to shut the door. Oscar Tunyo has to back out of it. So Oscar Tunyo still holding on there in that second place. Kirila and Gerler looking for their first win ever in the Prototype Cup Germany. Oscar Tunyo looking for a win that would add to the one at the season opener at the Hockenheim Ring. But what a battle for the lead that is raging on. It's Gustavo Kirila for the BWT Muka Motorsport team ahead of Oscar Tunyo. Lawrence Herr in the background. Now, Lawrence Herr is 7.9 seconds behind, so with less than 15 minutes this race remaining, we'll probably struggle to catch this battle. But if these two cars get together, and that is a possibility round here, Lawrence Herr could be in the box seats, but Tunyo into second place. He sees the gap to the inside. Kirila once again shutting the door. And they continue in the order they were in now along the pit straight. Oscar Tunyo, will he duck out? This piece of track, he'll go slightly to the right, and then it's the big left-hand hairpin. So he ducks to the outside. He's going to try and go the long way around. Tunyo then tucks back to the inside, takes a wider line. Gustavo Kirila alongside him. It's a drag race. Who's it going to be into the chicane? It's Tunyo slightly, but now it's back to Kirila. Tunyo just very briefly showing in the lead as he crossed the sector beam. But still, Gustavo Kirila in that lead position. Less than 14 minutes remaining. It is Gustavo Cirillo from Oscar Tunio, Lawrence Herr, Marcus Pommer, who's taken over from the number 15 car from Dino's, from Gary Hauser, and then Max van der Snel, who's taken over from Mark, and then Jan Marszalkowski in 6th place after that drive through penalty. So he's actually come back from that very well. But this is the battle for the lead once again. Gustavo Cirillo trying to make that car as wide as possible. The Muka Motorsport team, a legendary team, and there are the legendary bosses looking on, and he just brushes the wall, holds it all together. Not enough to do any damage, not enough to slow him down. He is pushing as hard as he can in that number 8 car, doing everything to keep Oscar Tunio behind him, but still he's holding on. Can he hold this pressure for another 13 minutes plus 1 lap? That remains to be seen. Number 8 leads the way, number 6 in 2nd, number 72 in 3rd. The challenge continues once again. Looking at a replay of coming out of the corner. Was this when the leaders came through? Our camera there, getting some great shots. There we go, look at that. Well, if he didn't brush the wall, he came blooming close, didn't he? He's still holding on, absolutely inch perfect at the moment. Oscar Tunio, a more experienced driver, but not able to get past. If you could just position the car in exactly the right place, you're going to have this covered off. Easy for me to say. I'm sat here watching it. These drivers working in intense heat and the 35-degree sunshine here at the Norisring in this, which is race 8 of a 12-race season. Gustavo Cirillo still holding off Oscar Tunio. Tunio has been looking the quickest man on the track, still Lawrence Herr. He's now 5.675 seconds behind, so he is reeling in the leaders bit by bit. With less than 12 minutes remaining, he could potentially be involved in this battle before the race is done. Oscar Tunio will be getting impatient to get past. He'll certainly want to get past before there's anybody on his back bumper. The drivers that we've lost are Robin Rogowski. We've also lost Belen Garcia Espinar. We've lost Max Hacklander and Danny Sufi. So we've still got 9 cars remaining out on track, but it's the lead battle that continues to grip us with the pit stops all done and dusted. Gustavo Cirillo leading the way, having taken over from Nico Gerler. Oscar Tunio, who's taken over from Julian Apotelos, pressuring all the way. He gets his nose in front briefly, doesn't he? But then he has to back out of it. These are wide cars, these big LMP3 growlers, and Gustavo Cirillo continues to make that car as wide as possible. Now in towards turn 1 once again. Tunio taking a slightly different line. There's a back marking car in the way. I think that might be Kevin Rawshite. Yes, it is. He keeps out of the way very wisely. Thank you, Kevin. And allows the leaders through. Gustavo Cirillo holding on despite immense pressure with 10.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. Oscar Tunio pressing for all he's worth. Still, he can't force that mistake. And Gustavo Cirillo trying to focus on what's ahead, not what's behind. And continuing in the distinctive pink car out onto the pit straight. That'll be a lap 49, lap 50 in the books. Oscar Tunio into turn 1 once again, the Grundig turn. Carrying on. Still in that 2nd place is Oscar Tunio, making up for what was a disastrous weekend at Zandvoort, getting themselves back into the championship hunt. They were 28 points off the championship lead coming into this race. Their main rivals, Gary Hauser and Marcus Pommer, currently in 4th place. So if they can finish like this, Oscar Tunio, Julian Apotelos will close in. But if they can get past for the lead, well, that will make all the difference, won't it? The points are paid out, 25 for a win, 20 for 2nd place. So a 5-point advantage that they're fighting for here. Less than 10 minutes remaining. Gustavo Cirillo leading the way. Oscar Tunio in 2nd. Lawrence Herr in 3rd. What's the gap to him? 3.347 seconds. So I get the feeling Lawrence Herr might be up with this lead battle before this race is done. Marcus Pommer in 4th place. ahead of Max van der Snel, Jan Marszalkowski in 6th, Jakob Erlbacher, Dino Steiner in 8th, ahead of Kevin Rorscheit, and then the drivers that are not running. This is the lead battle once again along the pit straight. Downforce is everything. You can see it's 0.287, 0.2865 back to Laurens Herr. He's closing in. Keep an eye on that. I think he is going to be involved in this before too long. We've still got a little over 8 minutes plus 1 lap. You can now see Laurens Herr in the background. It means that time is running out for Oscar Tunjo, because once Laurens Herr is on his back bumper, if he makes a move on Gustavo Kirila and it doesn't stick, he's going to leave himself vulnerable to attack from Laurens Herr. So it's kind of now or never, it feels like, for Oscar Tunjo. Getting Laurens Herr to catch the back of them is a bit of a gift for Gustavo Kirila, providing he can stay in the lead, because if Oscar Tunjo has to go on the defensive, then that will thwart his plans to get in front. So there's 1, 2, 3 coming along the pit straight. Gustavo Kirila, a nice tight line in. Oscar Tunjo trying to take that wide outside. He'll try and cut back to the inside now. They'll run side by side out of the corner. But it is Kirila who has the line, but Oscar Tunjo, a nose in front. Now he ducks to the other side. He's got the line into the corner. Is this going to be the one? They come together! They both go! Oscar Tunjo and Gustavo Kirila contact together. Laurens Herr comes sweeping through to take the lead. We had a feeling that might happen with 7 minutes remaining. All change at the front. The two cars getting together. The stewards are taking a look at it already. I don't think that either of them have got any damage. They rejoin, but Kirila now down into 2nd. Tunjo down into 4th. Marcus Pommer up into a podium position. And Laurens Herr is going to take a bit of stopping now. He's up in front. Gustavo Kirila now thinking about what might have been with 6.5 minutes remaining of this race. That incident is under investigation, as you would expect. There is your race leader. He just waited for them to get together. Now you see Tunjo to the inside of Kirila. Kirila went to shut the door. We don't have the angle on it to see how far through he was. They both managed to avoid contact with the fence, I think. Well, you can see the gap there, and well, it looks to me like maybe Oscar Tunjo, was that a little bit of a dive bomb that was a bit optimistic? I don't know. I mean, there was a space, and Kirila was closing the door, but some synchronized spinning from the two cars, the two Ducanes, pointing in the wrong direction, and Laurens Herr is like, oh, thank you very much, I'll have some of that. Comes sailing through, steals the position away, and there he is, and now with a lead of 5.7 seconds. So he is well ahead of Gustavo Kirila. Oscar Tunjo, the big loser in all of that, because he's now off the podium positions. Tunjo is about 1.19 seconds behind Marcus Pommer, so he could potentially challenge. But Marcus Pommer, well, it's not the work of a moment getting past him, is it, in the number 15 car? There you see, that is Pommer, and that is Tunjo. And the traumas continue in the number 6 camp. It was an awful weekend at Zandvoort just a couple of weeks ago, and that bad luck has continued a bit further, with Tunjo dropping out of the podium positions at the moment. He's still got 4 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap to do something about it. I don't think anybody has got anything for Laurens Herr. It's going to take a mistake or a breakdown for that car to be removed from the top step of the podium. Phenomenal drive by Laurens Herr. He is gold rated, but boy, he is good. The number 72 car, which started down in 10th place. Matthias Luton doing the qualifying. And then after the pit stops, Laurens Herr getting behind the wheel and absolutely motoring through the field and keeping out of trouble, taking advantage of the collision between Oscar Tunjo and Gustavo Kirila. It looks to me like both the cars that collided have managed to avoid any kind of damage, although the damage to the ego will probably last a long time. and they will want to forget about that incident. Kirila has come out of it the best. I think some would say that maybe second place was the best he was going to get out of this anyway. And then Oscar Tunyo, well, he has only lost one position, I guess, behind Kirila, although they have got Lawrence Ho, who's sneaked past both of them. So there is Gustavo Kirila, and there is Marcus Pommer in third place. Tunyo starting to pressurise Marcus Pommer. Marcus Pommer, who we've seen in GT Masters over many years, a very experienced pilot. And I think Oscar Tunyo is going to have to use every trick he can think of if he wants to find a route past that number 15 car. That will not be easy at all. And I don't think he's going to force Marcus Pommer into a mistake anytime soon either. But we will see. We still got 3 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. The gap between first and second is up to 7.1 seconds. Make that 7.2. And it is second place Gustavo Kirila, who survived after that spin. Pommer making the most and sneaking past as well. Oscar Tunyo in fourth place. Max van der Snel, a very solid drive from him in fifth. Ahead of Jan Marszalkowski, coming back from that drive-through penalty. So a good drive from him into sixth place. Ahead of Jakob Erlbacher, Dino Steiner, Kevin Rorscheit rounding out the top 9 runners. And in fact, the smoke there, a big lockup from Oscar Tunyo. Trying, well, if you think he's settled for fourth place, there is proof that he hasn't. Giving it a massive lockup into the corner, but that has just dropped him further back from Marcus Pommer, and that's given Pommer a bit of breathing room. So have another look at that into that. Boy, did he lock those up, and there'll be some serious flat spots on the Van Ommen Racing Bike Data Lab Duquesne at the end of this race. Those tyres will have some wonderful flat spots on them, and they'll clonk those off down to the tip, I should think, once this race is done and dusted. There is our race leader. He's just gained half a second in a lap. He is on a different level. Is Lawrence Herr, the gold-rated driver, leading the way from Gustavo Kirila, who remains in that second place. Now, looking a lot safer, Marcus Pommer in third, rounding out the podiums, and Oscar Tunyo, that lock-up really putting paid to his challenge for a podium position this afternoon here at the Norisring. We're looking at a masterclass from Lawrence Herr in the number 72 car, and the Quarren and Kempe Motorsport team, Finnish team, will be over the moon with all that has been going on there after what was a difficult qualifying session. To come back, to work your way through the field and to then lead the race, keeping out of trouble, that is a good job. We're into the final minute of timed racing. It is Gustavo Kirila in second place. Marcus Pommer looks like his challenge for second place is over. It certainly looks like Oscar Tunyo's challenge for third place is over. In fact, Max van der Snel behind him. Well, if it was a bit longer, we'd probably want to get involved as well, but it's just a bit too far back now. A 10-second time penalty has been awarded to Gustavo Kirila, so the stewards have ruled in favour of Oscar Tunyo. A 10-second time penalty has been awarded to the number 8 car for causing a collision. So Gustavo Kirila is going to lose his podium position. That is going to drop him behind Oscar Tunyo. A 10-second time penalty. I'm just looking to see where he is. 10 seconds. Well, that is going to drop him down to about 6th place. So that is a disaster. We saw that move. We saw him shut the door. So the stewards have decided that he was responsible for that collision, and a 10-second time penalty. That is going to move him off the podium. Marcus Pommer effectively up to second place. Oscar Tunyo, when he thought that it was all done and dusted, suddenly is looking at a third step of the podium. Here comes our race leader, still extending the gap at the front as the clock strikes 0. And on to the final lap. It's Lawrence Herr in the number 72 car. This is it again. So the stewards deciding that the pink car closed the door on the number 6 car, and it was his fault, and for that he's going to get a 10-second time. Oh, and the penalty has been taken back, so a correction. So after all of that, the penalty has now been rescinded. So the stewards have had another look. Maybe there'd been an appeal, but that penalty has been rescinded. So as you were, ladies and gentlemen, it is Gustavo Kirila who will remain in that second place. He just needs to finish this final lap. One driver who is finishing his final lap to cross the line. It is Lawrence Herr who crosses to finish and take the first place in race 8 of a 12-race season, the second race here at the Norisring. A dominant display from Lawrence Herr. Gustavo Kirila, who we thought was going to have a 10-second time penalty, has now had that rescinded and comes home in second place. Marcus Pommer into third place. The timing screens have applied the 10-second penalty, but we have seen from our messages that that has been rescinded, so we'd expect that to correct itself again. We'll wait for that to sort itself out. No doubt about the winner, though, is there. Lawrence Herr in number 72 ahead of saying the Pommer car, but it's Lawrence Herr and Matthias Luton, who have been a great team together. It is a bronze driver and a gold driver running together, and Lawrence Herr coming through the pack, keeping out of trouble, and taking the top step of the podium. Now, our timing screens have added that 10-second onto Gustavo Kirila's time, but we do have that message on our timing screen to say it has been rescinded, so we would expect that to be, there we go, it's corrected again now, and back up into that second place. The bit of elastic has propelled him back onto the podium. Marcus Pommer in third. So there's your 1, 2, 3. Well, an extraordinary race for the Prototype Cup Germany. And into Parc Fermé they come. And there is Lawrence Herr. There'll be lots of conversation about this into the night, I would expect. There is the number 15. Marcus Pommer, a very experienced driver, along with Gary Hauser from Luxembourg. And Matthias Luton, the defending trophy champion, the trophy category, clapping and cheering and congratulating his co-pilot. So the incident between Gustavo Kirila and Oscar Tonio has been reported to the stewards, so I get the feeling there may still be some conversations about that into the night. Keep your eye on the socials and on the websites in case there are any updates, but as things stand at the moment, it is Lawrence Herr and Matthias Luton who take the win ahead of Gustavo Kirila and Nico Gerler, Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser. There is that confirmation, 64 laps in the book. In fourth place, Oscar Tonio and Julian Apotelos after that controversial moment. Then father and son, Max and Mark van der Snel in fifth ahead of Jan Marszalkowski running solo, having that drive-through penalty. Jakob Erlbacher, Michael Lyons in seventh ahead of Dino Steiner and Konstantin Skoll. Then Kevin Rorschach and Wolfgang Pyer in ninth place, and the last of the runners, well, they're saying plus 6 laps, they did finish in the pits in the end. It was Belen Garcia Espinar and Xavier Lavaras, which is such a shame after that pit stop. Let's have a look at third place for racing experience, Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser. In second place for BWT Muka Motorsport, the legendary team, Nico Gerler and Gustavo Kirila, surviving everything that was thrown at them, possibly literally, to come home in second place. But what a drive from way back on the grid, 10th place to be precise. Lawrence Herr and Matthias Luton for Quarren and Kempe Motorsport, taking the Duquesne to the top step of the podium. So some great action shots here around the Norisring. It has been the debut of the Prototype Cup Germany here at this street circuit as we look at a replay of the checkered flag falling, and it has been a resounding success around these windy streets around the Franconian Monaco, as it is known. The Quarren Kempe team celebrating as well, and there's Matthias Luton doing a bit of lifting, and the wonderful display of the flags from our marshals who have worked so hard, concluding what has been a spectacular weekend of racing in this, just the second season of Prototype Cup Germany. You can see the point standings while Gary Hauser and Marcus Pommer continue their onslaught towards the championship, leading Oscar Turnio and Julian Potelos. So a lot of work to be done there. We have only got 2 rounds remaining after this weekend. That is races 9 and 10, which will be at Assen on the 1st and 3rd of September, and then it all comes to an end at the Nürburgring in October for races 11 and 12. So we are getting towards the sharp end of the season. We've got a fairly lengthy summer break now, so as I already mentioned, it's the beginning of September before we reconvene in Assen. I should think they'll still be talking about the Gustavo Kirila and Oscar Turnio incident right up to September, I should think. Right, on to the podium come our winning drivers. The teams are looking on from down in the pit lane. And Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser taking that 3rd step on the podium. 2nd place, Gustavo Kirila and Nico Gerler. That is the first win, still eluding the number 8 car at the moment. And to the top step, Lawrence Matthias Luton. And Matthias Luton doing everything right as he tries to retain his trophy championship. And now from Quarren Kempe Motorsport, we have a team representative. And now the national anthem. Some hasty positioning of the champagne bottles there, but the drivers are now donning the Michelin hats. So Thomas Dill, chairman of the board of the ADAC Nordbayern, presenting the winners' trophies, and beautiful trophies they are too. Second place trophies being presented. And then here come the 3rd place trophies as well. And Quarren Kempe, the winning team, and Nico Gerler, the winning junior driver. Now Matthias Luton, the winning trophy driver, as he looks to retain that title that he won last year. And there we go, the team trophy to Quarren Kempe Motorsport. The very popular Finnish team taking the team championship. So the drivers pose for the photos, and we now look ahead towards September. It's time for the summer break. It has been an astonishing first 4 rounds of the Prototype Cup Germany, promoted by the ADAC in association with Creventic. We will be back in the Netherlands in September in Assen for races 9 and 10, and then the championship will be decided at the Nürburgring from the 13th to the 15th of October for races 11 and 12. It's going to be a championship that continues to go all the way down to the line, but in the box seats at the moment, Marcus Pommer and Gary Hauser looking the favourites. but it's still all to play for. 4 races to go in Prototype Cup Germany. Have a great summer. We'll see you in September.